Hey guys, Script Trooper with another video, and this time it's an interview on Script Mag. Oh, after my own heart. Anyway, this is an interview with Tony Gilroy. He says a few things in here that are kind of either off-putting or just straight up weird and kind of... Anyways, you'll see. Tony Gilroy on bringing Andor to the end. Okay. Talks about Cassian and Cyril's fight, whatever. Yeah, so he says he had to convince them that Cyril would say, "Who are you?" And he says, "I don't know if I had the idea before then or concurrent with that would be like, what? I'm in the middle of asking, what is this? Who is this? I mean, the stunning incomprehensibility about being attacked by another Gorman human being. So the who are you was really obvious to me. I had it in there and it was somewhat controversial with production as they went through it. There were a lot of phone calls back and forth. They wanted to go to get alternative lines and they thought it may not work. You haven't really seen the fight and so on." Why would that be a bone of contention? I was not swayed by those questions. I had really called Diego on the phone the night before and said, "Man, I don't care. You get all the alts you want, but I'm telling you, I'm going with this line. Go get a great one out, and then you can give me all the alts you want. I'm not going to use them, but we can play with them if you want." Why would they be fighting over that line? This is kind of weird. It seemed like a pretty simple line to me. I didn't see the big deal. Did you guys? I saw on the Star Wars livestream interview you said you had to fight for it. I just had to convince them. I mean, there's a couple different things. Look, there's times that I've been completely wrong about, and you watch them happen, and you're like, wow, I was so wrong about that, but this was one I really was convinced with. I just thought it was the most Greek essential thing you could have. I think I even said to them, "I'm naming the episode Who Are You?" So I knew I was right. The fact that this is being discussed at this length is so weird to me. Okay, don't worry, there's lots of juicy stuff. I just read that just because I thought that was really strange that was like a big deal. Okay, so then he talks about sending Dedra to Narkina. He didn't actually have that planned out after season 1, and he saved a piece of the set so they could do the shot of her in there. This is where we get to the really weird statement. Okay, that's exactly the kind of stuff I'm interested in. There's this mistake people have in looking at Star Wars and going, Star Wars is what you need to look at to figure out how to make Star Wars, and that's not the case. Who are you to say that? Like, you're dealing with a massive IP with a huge amount of issues that need to be continuous and make sense. So that's actually pretty important to understand the universe you're in. What a weird thing. They just make that statement, this interviewer. Tony Gilroy, no, never. I never watched any Star Wars. I couldn't watch the other shows in the beginning because Mandalorian was so great when it started and I was watching it, and then as I got into my show, it was really unsettling for me to watch other Star Wars. I just always had the continual feeling I was doing something wrong, so I just stopped. I couldn't do it, so I didn't watch any Star Wars. Does that mean he never watched any at all, or just during this process? I think he means during this process. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. That's really weird. That's really weird for a showrunner to not be able to watch other things in Star Wars. I never watched any. That's so weird. No wonder this doesn't feel like Star Wars at all, because he didn't watch any. He doesn't know. This is weird. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Like, to me, if you're writing a show for Star Wars, you kind of need to be inspired by Star Wars. Like, maybe this is the problem. I think it was Ariana Greenblatt when she was playing Ahsoka, the young Ahsoka. She also said that she had just gotten into Star Wars or something like that. Then you had people on the other side of the coin. Amanda Stenberg said she was into it as a kid. I guess then there's some evidence to support that. But then she was in a show that was totally lore-breaking and weird. And then Leslie Headland made the claim that she used to make stop-motion little things with her figures, and she was super into it. I don't necessarily believe that. I'd like to see those before I believe that. Because all these people, and Tony included, seem to make things, they're trying to branch it out into something it isn't, without realizing that actually if you keep it what it is, and if you keep it in the style and in the flow and in the spirit of George Lucas's 6 films, it's going to be a winner. It's not going to be a loser. It's as simple as that. And Disney knows that, because every time there's an anniversary now, they're re-releasing these movies and making a bunch of money in the theaters. So it's weird to me that he never watched any. I really do appreciate the honesty, but that says a lot. That says a lot about the show, the style of the show, why it doesn't feel like Star Wars, why it feels generic with a Star Wars skin on it. That makes perfect sense. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think that's kind of bad, though, that they hired a guy like this? Do you think that was kind of a weird decision to make. A guy that really wasn't into Star Wars, you're going to hire him to do this big, huge budget, $650 million show. I find that weird. I don't know. That's not the person I would hire. And again, it came out on the other end being very something else, not Star Wars. Yeah, so that was basically the bulk of what I was trying to talk about. The rest of this article is just, whatever. Explaining his inspiration and this and that and the other thing. And I mean, and he swears up and down it had nothing to do with current contemporary politics, particularly in the United States. He references French revolutions, and he references Zapata, and he references things of that nature, and that's fine. And I believe him. I do believe that. But it's fans who are turning it into this whole modern political thing. You see tweets all the time saying how great it is because it's so relatable to what's going on in today's political spectrum, and it's like, that's not what he intended, and that actually kind of sucks. Again, you want an escape. That's what we're missing here. And so when you watch Star Wars, you watch the first 6 films in particular, it's an escape. You don't want to be thinking about modern contemporary politics, but it feels like people bring that into everything. Now, I can kind of see it because the way the show does kind of bring those things in, even though he didn't intend for that. But that isn't what I want to do. I don't want to be thinking about that. And I understand, the Viet Cong and the U.S. and all of George's inspirations. Okay, I get that. But when you watch Star Wars, you don't think about that. Is anyone actually, like, when you watched Star Wars the first time you watched it, were you like, whoa, that's the U.S. versus the Viet Cong? Like, nobody said that. Nobody thought that. That was his inspiration, but nobody thought that. Maybe in this case, Tony's it's too overt, it's too similar, and it feels that way too, because the look of the show is very Earth-like, whether it's the 30s Gorman stuff or whatever it is. Like, maybe that's part of it. You don't feel like you're in another universe. But all that to say, the fact that he can't watch Star Wars while he's making Star Wars, I find that mind-boggling. I'm totally puzzled. I don't understand how he couldn't. I don't know. That's just super weird to me. I don't get why you would hire somebody like that. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe. It always helps the channel. Feel free to check anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.